And a good afternoon and welcome to today's Capital One Teachable Tuesday webinar. We are pleased to offer this session on NCAA Live Stats for football. Please welcome today's presenter, Genius Sports' David Petroff. I'm Nick Herrera, will serve as the webinar moderator. We appreciate you all joining us today. Before we begin, though, we'd like to take a quick thank you to our corporate partner, Capital One, presenting sponsor of COSIDA's Professional Development and Continuing Education Series. As a reminder, the on-demand webinar will be posted later today on COSIDA.com and COSIDA's YouTube channel. Please invite your colleagues to listen and watch on-demand webinars, as it's free for everyone to use. Thanks to all who have submitted your questions in advance. We encourage you to submit any questions you might have. Place your questions in the chat box, and your questions will be addressed throughout the webinar. David, thank you for being with us, and David will go through about a 40-minute presentation to demonstrate the NCAA Live Stats for football. And David, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate everyone taking the time. Gonna share my screen here. All right. Everyone seeing my screen? Nick, can you help me out? Does it look good?
It looks perfect, David.
All right, great. Okay, so welcome all to NCAA Live Stats for football. I'm pleased to do this with you today. This is going to be kind of a short version of our full-length wet trainings. Our full trainings last about 2 hours. We go through a lot of detail. We get through a lot of questions. They're actually kind of fun. I encourage you to sign up for one of those. We have about 40 minutes today. I'm going to show you a lot of things, but I can't possibly show you everything. I do encourage you to participate in a full training. If not, watch one of our recorded trainings on the NSCM knowledge base. I see Bo is adding some links into the chat where you can register for those and also get some of the training materials. It's an outstanding program. It's working very well. It does take some practice. Most NCAA Live Stats programs take some practice. You do have to train yourself on a couple things. Train your callers how to call action, things like that. But I think you're going to find that it's a really smooth workflow, and you're going to like how it plays out. Currently I'm on the game information tab. I've set up a practice game in the test environment. If you're familiar with NCAA Live Stats, you know a little bit about the production environment versus the test environment. Production environment is where we do real games with real game keys. Test environment is where we can practice and train and see if our scoreboards work, things like that. Okay, so a couple of key points. You're going to see a lot of these tabs look very familiar to you if you've done any other sport. So I'm not going to take a whole lot of time talking about them because I want to get to some of the really special features of NCAA Live Stats. First thing I want to show you is here on the Players tab. So if you're familiar with NCAA Live Stats, this is going to look pretty familiar. You've seen roster pages like this before, but there's a couple key differences. Like with all our NCAA Live Stats sports, jersey numbers can be freely changed and edited, but names, first names, last names should not be touched. We leave those alone. We don't edit first and last names. Okay, if we need to add a new player, we use the Add Player button down here at the bottom to add a new player to the roster. All right. Another thing that's very unique about football, of course, is duplicate numbers. Now, if we look over on Concordia's roster on the left, we can already see that we have some duplicate numbers visible. NCAA Live Stats handles these inside the software without too much trouble. The challenge becomes with backwards compatibility so that we can create FPK files so that if you need to bring these games into StatCrew later, you can do that. So the way we handle this is in the NCAA database, which I'm going to show you a sample shot. In the NCAA database, you'll see you've seen this screen before as you're entering players. There's a jersey number spot, and there's a field for stat crew number. So jersey number is the number that they're actually wearing on their back. The stat crew number is that alphanumeric code that you're going to use in stat crew to represent that player. Now, if it's not a duplicate, it's the same. Okay, if it's 37 wearing the jersey and you don't have another 37, then the stat crew number almost inevitably is 37. So this becomes very important with the stat crew number to keep updated throughout the course of the season. We know in football, jersey numbers change often. So this might become a weekly task to make sure your NCAA database roster is up to date. The reason being is whenever you load a game key in NCAA Live Stats, whenever you load a game key, it's going to pull the most recent roster directly from the NCAA database. So it's important that you and your opponent have your rosters up to date. So as part of your weekly communication leading up to the game, the home SID is going to want to make sure to check with the visiting SID and just say, hey, can you try to have your NCAA database roster up to date by, say, Friday at noon, because Saturday morning, I'm going to pull the game key. Once I pull the game key, I want that roster to be as accurate as possible. Okay, pull your game key on Tuesday, there's probably going to be a number of changes, and now you can't pull the game key again, so you're going to have to manually make those roster edits. Okay, slide that out of the way. So where do we see these stat crew numbers? The show old number button pops up right here, and these are our stat crew numbers. Now, so one thing to be aware of, you can see that the jersey number, we're free to have duplicates. But if I try to have a duplicate number in the stat crew alphanumerics, I'm going to get a red box. This is because it's a limitation of stat crew. Stat crew does not allow duplicate numbers. Therefore, we can't allow you to start a game or run a game where you have duplicate stat crew numbers. Okay, so we always have to have a proper alphanumeric code. So I can scan down this list. I can see there's some alphanumerics in there. I'm looking for red boxes to see if there's any duplicates, and it looks fine. I can do the same thing over here on Rockford's roster, looking for any red boxes, duplicates. Okay, you can see down here there's a duplicate 99, but they have different stat crew numerics, 99, 96, so it's okay. If I did have a problem like this, and I tried to save and confirm this tab, I'd get an error message. Duplicate old numbers found. We can't have two players with the same stat crew alphanumeric. Okay, otherwise we won't be able to make a proper FPK file later. The FPK file gets generated in the NSCM. Like all our other sports, the pack files come from the NSCM after the game is finalized. Okay, I can select offensive and defensive starters. This can be done pre-game with anticipated starters. It can be done post-game before you finalize. It can even be done after you finalize if you load it in post-game mode. You can also do it mid-game, so anytime. Positions are limited to what the positions that the NCAA database uses. Okay, so you won't find any Mikes or Sams or any unusual positions like that. They're just linebackers. All right, so we'll save that. The next thing I want to show you, we call this our preset player list. Okay, this is a really helpful menu to set up that'll help you score the game. You can see we have quarterbacks, receivers, rushers, common actions in the game. When you fill in this page and you have enter a rushing play, the software will prompt you first for these 4 players that are shown as rushers. Okay, this makes it a lot easier to find the player you need, because we know that the rushers, receivers, the most common ones will always be front and center for us. Same thing with tacklers, our most common tacklers. Currently, this has to be set up manually. It's really simple to do. I can click a square right here, and I can find an extra running back and add it in. If I need to take them out, I can just X them. It doesn't matter what order you put them in, they'll always end up being sorted numerically anyway. But this is currently a manual process, so you'll get either your depth chart from the coaches, or you'll get you might use the stats from the current season stats, and you'll fill these in with the most likely receivers, most likely rushers. You'll also notice over here on the player tab, there's a couple there's some duplicate players, and you'll see how we represent duplicate players. Okay, we split the button in half and we show a position and initials. Okay, so that should help you find the players you need. Now, someone in the questions prior to the webinar asked about keyboard controls. There is a keyboard function to help you find a player. Okay, if you use the number keys across the top of your keyboard, you can jump right to one of these number buckets. Okay, so if I click 5, we'll go right to the 50s. And if I click 9, we'll go right to the 90s. If I click 0, we'll go right to the single digit numbers. Okay, so this works here. It also works in the software. So you can jump quickly to any one of these number buckets by hitting a number on your keyboard. But that's the only keyboard function we have. A lot of people are using touch screens, so we want to make sure it accommodates that well. Like most of our softwares, it's predominantly point and click touchscreen. Okay, all right, so that's set. So we're going to save and confirm that. There's another tab for Rockford as well. I've already set that up for us. You'll see where these come into play. Okay, we're going to start with a coin toss. We're going to choose the winner of the toss. Now remember, the winner of the toss may not be necessarily the receiving team because they have a choice to make. So if Concordia, Wisconsin calls heads and it's heads, we'll click Concordia as the winner. They have a choice. They can kick, they can receive, they can defer, or they can choose an end zone. Often teams defer the opening toss. So now Rockford has a choice to kick off, receive, or choose an end zone. They're likely going to receive, and we'll choose the direction that Concordia is going to choose the end zone that they wish to defend. We'll say they're going to take the north end zone. We'll click proceed. Now the next thing we'll see is we're going to confirm the end zones for the teams. This is for you as the statistician to make sure that your screen matches the direction of the field that the teams are playing in front of you. You wouldn't want to try to do a game backwards, basketball, volleyball, anything. So you want to make sure we have the right defenders. So I can look right here and I can see Concordia is defending the end zone to my left and Rockford is defending the end zone to my right. If that is accurate, great. I click confirm and I move on. If I need to switch it, I switch it. And you'll see the two teams switch in the background. Now Rockford is defending the end zone to my left, Concordia defending the end zone to my right. I click confirm and we're set. If it's still wrong, I can always come back to the game menu and click switch team sides and do it anytime I want during the game. Then the next time you see that pop up automatically will be at halftime, because at halftime, of course, they have to make an end zone selection as well. All right, so Concordia is kicking off. You can see their preset player, the kicker, is already here waiting for me to click it. So I can choose him. If I don't choose him, I can go to my number buckets. Maybe we're going to have an offensive tackle kickoff. That'd be an unusual choice, but we could do it. But I can choose from the player list, or I can choose the preset player. If I had more than one kicker, they'd all line up here. We're going to have the ball kicked. I'm not going to go too much into special teams right now, so we're just going to call this a touchback. And we're at 15 minutes. You probably saw the clock prompt. I'll post that for a second. Down here on the bottom, you'll always see the summary of the last play, and you'll see the next snap. The next snap is Rockford, 1st and 10 at their own 25. That looks good. We click next play. All right. The first 3 buttons that you see on your screen here, this is the first play from scrimmage. The first 3 buttons on your screen are what we call sticky buttons. This means that they will remember my choices on this play for the next play. Okay, so if my starting quarterback's number 8, and we're playing from the huddle, and we're under center, we can choose those, and next play, those will already be filled in for us. So we don't have to select that each time. We don't have to select that each time. We only need to select that if something changes. Okay? It is helpful to always select your quarterback, because then when you run a passing play, that quarterback will be pre-filled in as the passer. It will be assumed that that is the passer unless you change it. Okay. Every play starts with clicking ball snapped. We would like you, as much as possible, click ball snapped as close as you can to the moment it snapped. The reason being, that time is captured in the data feed, and we can use that time down the road to match up video, to use for scouting programs, different things like that. Okay, notice there's no clock on the screen. We are currently in what's called manual clock mode, meaning that we're prompted to enter the clock on each change of possession and on each scoring play. So in that way, right now, it would be similar to stat crew. If I choose to enter the clock more often, I can. I'll show you how. What we also are developing and testing right now is an automatic clock using a ScoreLink device from Sportscast. The ScoreLink device connects to your stadium scoreboard system, and we can bring that clock directly into NCAA Live Stats. So once we have that rolled out, and we distribute those ScoreLink devices out to people, you'll be able to have an actual ticking running clock inside your software. So you get very accurate time of possession data. You get time of possession data all the time, not just at the end of drives, okay? Because it'll count each play. And so that'll be a nice feature when we have that fully rolled out. All right, so ball snap. I click ball snap, and I have some outcomes on the bottom. I have a pass, a rush, a punt, or a field goal. That would be unlikely. Let's talk about a rush first. All right, so on my rush, one nice thing to know is that on most screens on NCAA Live Stats, you can select things in either order. I can select the rusher first and then the direction, or the direction and then the rusher. Okay, so right here, I can select my rusher. Remember, these are my preset rushers that I set back on that other page. But if I need to go to someone else, I can freely go to someone else and find a different running back. 35, right there. We can choose them. We can say it's a rush up the middle. And now at the bottom, we have outcomes. You'll see these outcomes a lot. Since just about every play ends with a ball carrier of some kind, you'll see these tackle, fumble, lateral, out of bounds, and end of play. I think tackle and fumble are self-explanatory. We're going to use lateral when there's a play where a player advances the ball and then pitches to another. We wouldn't use it for a pitch straight out of the off the snap, or some kind of design pitch in the backfield. Those are just rushing plays. Out of bounds, when a player runs out of bounds. And end of play. End of play refers to when a player is down without any tackle. Okay, they made a diving catch on a pass and they're down, and there's no tackle to be credited. With tackle and out of bounds, I can credit a tackle and then mark it as out of bounds. I can credit a play out of bounds and then add a tackle to it. So if the play goes out of bounds and you're not sure which to click, you can click either one and it'll work out fine. So if I click tackle, it's going to take us to this new screen. Now, again, remember I said we can choose yard lines or we can choose tacklers, and we can do it in either order. Okay. In most cases, I think people tend to get the tackler first because they're always waiting for the referee to spot the ball to get the exact yard line. Okay, so if we have one tackler, we're just going to choose them off this top line. Remember, these are my presets, but if it's somebody else, that's fine. I can come down here and find a different player. If there's a second tackler on the play, we can choose them right there as well. If I need to change it, I can click the X and change to a different player. Now to choose yard lines, we have this field diagram. We have a field diagram, and we have the yard line's closest to where the ball is right now. Oh, I see that question, Bo, and I'll answer that in just a moment. So right now the line of scrimmage is the 25. We can see the first down marker at the 35. We can choose one of these lines here. Any yard line on the field, we're 2 clicks away from it. I can click right here if it's a short gain for 2. I could click anywhere on the field, and it'll give me a new set of yard lines wherever I want it. Okay, so let's say it's the 29 for a gain of 4. Down here at the bottom, we read our play summary. 35 Barmore, rush for 4-yard gain to the 29, tackle by number 5 and 57. Our next snap is Rockford, 2nd and 6 at the 29. That looks good. We click next play. The question was about the kneel down. I'll show you that. We're going to ball snap and a rush. If I choose a kneel down, I'll probably choose my quarterback. Great. Middle. If I choose kneel down, yes, we're going to choose number 8 as the rusher for the kneel down, but statistically, it's a team rush. Software knows that. We're indicating that number 8 took the kneel down, but he will not be charged. So 2-yard loss on the kneel down. With a kneel down by 8, 2-yard loss. These 2 yards will go to a team rush and not to number 8. Next play, 3rd and 8 at the 27. Strange time to take a kneel down, but it's there. Notice those sticky buttons I mentioned, they're all covered. They remember that 8 is still my quarterback. We're in the huddle and we're under center. All right. If I need to change something, I can go ahead and change for going to a shotgun. All right, one more rushing play. Again, I can choose my running back. I can choose a direction. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to intentionally not choose a direction. In fact, I'm going to intentionally not choose a rusher just to show you what might happen. So I didn't choose a rusher. I didn't choose a direction. Maybe I didn't see it clearly. My sophomore work study spotter fell asleep because they're looking at their phone. I can go ahead and click fumble. All right, and we're already on to the next screen. Now, I didn't put in any information on that last screen, but it's okay because sometimes things happen, especially turnover situations. It gets crazy. Notice over here in my action log, there's a yellow alert icon. That is letting me know that I missed some piece of information. That's okay. We're going to go on. So we're going to imagine he advanced to the 30 where he fumbled. I can select the defensive player for the force. 21 forced it, and now I need a recovery. I can have a recovery by the defensive team Concordia. Maybe the ball rolled ahead to the 34. And the recovery, one of our big friendly linemen fell on that ball. Now, if he returned it, great. I'll click return and we'll continue into that. If I click end of play, that means they fell on the ball. There's no tackle to be credited, just an end of play. And if it's in the end zone for a touchback, we'll credit a touchback, but of course this is not. So I'll just click end of play, indicating, actually I will click return. We'll have the big man return the ball, okay? So now this looks kind of like our running play stuff, right? So now he's returning the ball, so he's either going to be tackled, he's going to fumble himself, he'll lateral, he'll run out of bounds, or it'll be the end of the play. So let's imagine he returns it. Oh, I don't know, the 26, where the quarterback manages to tackle him. Now, you see what happened? We had a change of possession, so now we get a clock prompt. Okay, so we need to get the clock prompt in. This little clock icon actually pops up at the end of every play. And so you can always put in a clock prompt at the end of every play if you choose. But it's only prompted and required when we have a change of possession or a scoring play. So we'll imagine that this occurred at 12:44. We can check our summary. Our summary is a bit incomplete. I can click here if it's too long and it'll show me. We've got a rush for 7 yards, but we forgot to put in the rusher. Gained to the 34, fumbled at the 30, forced by 21, recovered by 97. and he returned it 8 yards to the 26 where he's tackled by 8. All that looks good. Someone noticed the injury button. If we have an injury on this play, we can also indicate maybe our running back 15 was injured. So we can make a note. It'll add that to the play-by-play that is injured on the play. Okay, doesn't remove him from the game or anything. And I'll click next play. So now you see Concordia has the ball. But let's go back to this action here with the yellow icon. These are really important to fill in. Now, the software lets you skip actions if you need to. You can skip a lot of information and still keep going, but at some point you've got to come back and fill it in. Why? Because you won't have a complete statistical record if you don't, okay? This player who carried the ball will be missing a rush. They'll be missing the yardage gained to them, and your stats won't balance, okay? So end of the quarter, halftime, end of the game, whatever it is, at some point you've got to come back and clear all these little yellow icons, okay? And I'll talk a little bit about the editor where you can see that easily. So I'm going to click this play right here. The editor, when I click the play, it'll show me what's missing with the pink highlight. I forgot to put in the rusher, and I didn't indicate the direction he was running. And now you can see that my yellow warning icon is cleared, and I can go back to latest, and it'll take me back to the current play, and we're all set. There's no more yellow icons visible. I can click this yellow icon up here to sort. The only one it's showing me is the current play we're on, since that isn't completely entered yet. And we're okay there. I missed a previous audience question. Would this be an example of the keyboard shortcut where if you did not have a player showing, you could hit 6 and jump to the 60 numbers? Correct. That's the keyboard shortcut we talked about. I can hit a 4 and it'll take me to the 40s. Okay, I can click here to the 60s, or just tap 2 on my keyboard to get to the 20s. Forced fumble also credit a tackle. Yep, forced fumble will credit a tackle. The software follows NCAA rules and follows them well. Okay. Let's talk about some passing plays. We've got 12. We've got to reset our sticky buttons here. We'll have 12, huddle, and a shotgun. So this is Concordia's first play from scrimmage. Now, in passing plays, there's going to be a key piece of information that we're asking for that you haven't collected yet. That's going to be on completed passes. We want to know the yard line of the catch. And on incomplete passes, we want to know the yard line of where the target receiver was. Okay, this is going to help us do a couple things. It'll help us create a yards after catch statistic, okay, which will be new for college stats. We hadn't seen that before. So we'll have yards after catch. We'll also have a passing chart, which will be able to show the quarterback's performance left, middle, and right, also short, medium, and long, and break that down into completions and attempts, yardage in each of those areas. And I'll show you that later, hopefully, if I have time to. I don't know if I'm going to have time to show you all the reports. All right, so if we have a pass, we click pass. We can click into our quarterback is already pre-selected. If I need to change it, we're running some kind of strange halfback option. I could do that and make 87 our passer, but most likely it's just our quarterback. Middle. If we have a completed pass, I'll pick complete. You see complete, incomplete, intercepted. Spike, much like a kneel down, you can enter in a spiked pass to stop the clock, and it will credit a team pass attempt against the team and not against the individual quarterback. We also have a sack and a sack fumble, strip sack button as well. But we'll start with complete. Okay. We need the yard line received at. Now, this is not where the play ended necessarily. It could be the same, but we need where the ball was caught. So we're going to say this ball's caught at the 20. We'll pick a receiver, number 7. And now our outcomes here at the bottom, they look kind of familiar because we have a ball carrier now. So what does the ball carrier do after catching? He's going to be tackled. We'll say he gains to the 11. We need a tackler. We can say that was 66 and 4 on the tackle. And we'll say the tackle was forced him out of bounds. So we'll also mark that it's out of bounds. If we need to read our play summary, we can click on it. Pass complete for 15 yards to the 11, out of bounds. Click next play. We're all set, 1st and 10 at the 11. Okay. If we have a scoring play, a touchdown, one stat crew habit we're going to have to break is in stat crew we just advance the player to the 0-yard line and we're done, and we call that a touchdown. In NCAA Live Stats, we don't want to advance to the 0-yard line and stop the play, because that will stop the play at the 0-yard line. We're going to use the touchdown buttons. You probably saw them here on the screen. I see a question about if I forget to choose huddle or no huddle. Yes, the program will mark it as incomplete information, and you can skip it and you can come back later and do it. Okay, so let's have a pass, ball snap, pass to the left. It's going to be complete to 88. He's going to catch it at the 3 and take it in the end zone. So we have a catch at the 3. Now, I'm not going to go end of play 0, okay, because that's not what happened. We're just going to click the touchdown button. So we click touchdown for Concordia. I get a clock prompt. 10:37. Okay, if I need to change the clock prompt, I can. 10:35. There we go. I read that we have 12, pass complete to 88 for 11 yards to the Rockford 0, touchdown, clock at 10:35. And we will confirm that touchdown. Points are already on the board. We're at the 3-yard line for our conversion. We choose extra point or 2-point conversion, depending on what formation they are in. Choose extra point. Preset players come in really handy on kicking plays, because now I can very quickly select my kicker, my holder, and my long snapper just by clicking 1, 2, 3 right through them. I do need to click my kicker, otherwise we won't know who gets credit for this extra point. When the ball is snapped, I click ball snapped. If they run some kind of a fake, I can put a pass or a rush, but most likely they kick it. If it's made, great, 7 points, we move on. Missed is a little more interesting, so I'm going to click missed. You can see that we have different areas where the kick can be missed, including the uprights and the crossbar. So this is just all descriptive information. So we can click here to indicate they missed to the right. And we'll click next play. Okay, 6-0, and we're ready for the next kickoff at the 35-yard line. Okay. Let's imagine a fair catch kickoff at the 4 by number 84, and you can see the ball, 61-yard kick, fair catch by 84, and the next snap is going to occur at the 25 according to the proper college football rule. Okay, so we won't short the kicker any yardage with that fair catch kick, fair catch play. All right, let's talk a little bit about penalties. When we get on our full training call, we'll talk a lot about penalties. I don't have the ability in this short time to go through everything with you, but I do want to hit the real key point. So let's imagine a ball snap. We have a pass left. It's complete to number 31. I'm sorry, at the 31-yard line to number 2. And he will go out of bounds at the 35 for a first down. But there is a flag on the field. So whenever we have a penalty, we click flag on the field. Okay, that button's always available on the bottom row. If it was a pre-snap penalty, before we even click ball snap, we just click flag on the field and we could start to input the penalty. All right, So currently, if you read the summary, we have a pass complete to number 2 for 10 yards to the 35, out of bounds, and it's a first down. But we're going to click input penalty. So here's our penalty workflow. First, we need a reason. What was it? The most frequent penalties will be shown first. If I need more, I can click show all penalties, and it'll give me the longer list. I can also put a couple characters in the search box, and it will start to show me, it'll start to whittle down that list. We're going to imagine a holding penalty right here on the Rockford offense. So we selected the reason. Who's the penalty on? The Rockford offense. Player. Now, if you wish to select a player, great. We select a player just like we select any other player. There's also another option. Perhaps you don't like to put in individual players for penalties. You're worried about hurting feelings. Or perhaps you have a field and the microphone doesn't work, or the referee doesn't have a mic and you don't really know. You can always use the team button here and make it a team penalty. Okay, so that's always an option to create a team penalty as well. We need a decision from the other team. They're going to accept it, decline it, or it's becoming an offsetting penalty. They're probably going to accept this. Now, the million-dollar question in Stat Crew has always been, do stats count on this play? What we're doing with NCAA Live Stats is we're going back to the rule book and enforcing the penalties the way the rules are. So the question is, where is this penalty being enforced from? Are we enforcing this from the previous spot, being the Rockford 25? Meaning, if we're enforcing from the previous spot, that means the play that just happened doesn't count, and we're counting backwards yardage from the 25. If we were choosing succeeding spot, the Rockford 35, now we're saying the play counts to get us to the 35, and now we're going to count backwards from there. Okay, that covers most penalties. Then there's other spot. Other spot is something in between. This is most likely like a downfield holding penalty. The runner gained 50 yards, but 20 yards downfield there was a hold, and so we're going to enforce the hold from that point of that foul, 20 yards downfield. So we'll choose that other spot. Now this is pretty straightforward holding, and so it's going to be a previous spot penalty. So we click previous spot, and you see now we have a pass complete to Owens for 10 yards out of bounds, but a penalty on 65, 10 yards from the 25 back to the 15, no play. Okay, so we're still going to show you the penalty. It's important that even if you see a flag come out and you're confident that this play is going to be wiped out, we still want you to enter the full action as it happened, because that's valuable to know exactly what play was wiped out by that penalty. Perhaps it was an 85-yard touchdown run called back by a hold. That's important information that you should have in your play-by-play. That's a much more significant type of penalty than some others. All right, so if we're all good, we click next play, and you can see we are now 1st and 20 at the Rockford 15. Okay. I want to show you one other thing. We're at the 15. Let's imagine another holding penalty, because this is going to end up being, we'll have him out of bounds at the 20, but we're going to have another holding penalty. Input, holding on Rockford. Now, we're at the 15, right? 61, accepted. We're at the 15, so we need to choose a spot. This is going to be previous spot, but this is half the distance to the goal, right? Because if we go back 10 yards from the 15, it's half the distance. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 27, rush for 5 yards to the 20, but he's out of bounds, but there's holding, a 7-yard penalty from the 15 to the 8. Now, the software, when it's an odd number like this, it'll divide the penalty to the best it can. It made a 7-yard penalty. But what if the referee puts the ball at the 7? Okay, that's where this adjust yards penalty comes in. We can click adjust yards, and we can back the ball up to the 7 and save that. And now, depending on the spot, now we've made this an 8-yard penalty. This also comes in handy if the referee simply makes a mistake. Okay, they should have marked off a 5-yard penalty and they miscounted and they only marked off 4 yards. We can still award the penalty, use adjust yards to shift that penalty just a bit. Okay, so the next play will be 1st and 28 at the Rockford 7. There we are. Okay, lots more to talk about there, but I need to talk about editing. So we have the plays here in the action log column, but if I click the square up here, this gives us the full screen action log. So on the full screen action log, I can see each play and I can see how it played out. So if I need to make some kind of edit, perhaps number 2 Owens was not the receiver on this play. Perhaps it was actually number 1. I can change that to number 1. I can go back to expanded, and you can see that we've now changed this receiver from 2 to number 1. Okay. There's a function called replace play. Perhaps I've misentered this play altogether. Perhaps, let's imagine this, perhaps there was no holding on this play. Okay, I entered it correctly by putting a hold, but now they've picked the flag up. I had to move on because I didn't know what to do. I might have panicked a little bit, but now I need to come back and re-enter this play without the hold. Okay, so I can come back here and I can see that we have a pass to the left, caught at the 31, and he's out of bounds at the 35. I can't just remove this penalty though. So what I'm going to do is use this function called replace play. In most cases, I want to use replace play and not insert and delete. Okay, replace play will recalculate down and distance for me and make sure things come out properly for the next play as well. So I'll do replace play. When I do that, it's going to take me back to this entry screen, but notice I'm replacing this play over here. So ball snapped, pass to the left. So I'm re-entering the play as it happened. It was complete to number 1. He caught it at the 31, and he was out of bounds at the 35. Now this is the point where I click flag on the field and put the penalty in, but that's what we're taking out, so I'll skip that. Now, when you replace play, the next play button does not light up because we're saving this replace play. So we're going to come over here and click save. So you can see what happens. It's replaced this play. Okay. It took out the penalty. Now, the next play knows that there's a mistake here. Okay, there's a flag on this play. So what does that flag mean? Anytime we see a flag, we can come up here. Line of scrimmage does not match previous play outcome. Edit previous play or replace current play with correct information. Yards to go does not match previous play outcome. Edit previous play. Okay, so we might need to do another outcome here. So we can come back here and we can do another replace play, but this time the play begins at the 35. Replace play. Ball is set at the 35. It should be a 1st and 10. It is. We can adjust that before we start entering if we need to. So we'll go ball snap, a rush for 27 up the middle. And he's going to be out of bounds with a 5-yard gain. And then we had a hold on number 61 for Rockford. Accepted, and that'll be a previous spot foul. And again, next play isn't lit. We come to save, save. Okay. Now we're on our current play, which is good, but again, the current play doesn't match up. That's okay. The current play, we should be 1st and 20 from the 25. That's okay. We'll come in here and we can go ahead and mark 1st and 20 from the 25, and we're all set to go. Whoops, there we go. We're all set to go with our next play. And that flag will clear once we enter the play. I know that was super quick on editing, and but that's the basics of it. At the end of the game, we can use this flagged and incomplete filter to find flagged and incomplete plays. Like I said, it's crucially important you come back and clear up these flags and incomplete actions. I know some of you have done basketball, and there are certain flags in basketball that that you've learned don't need to be fixed because they might be false flags or they just don't seem to make a difference. I'm telling you, in football, every flag and incomplete action will make a difference statistically. If you have flags and incomplete actions and you submit to the NCAA, you're going to get error messages back from the NCAA, things like, oh, passing yards does not equal receiving yards. There's a discrepancy of 8. Why? Because there's an 8-yard catch in there where you didn't indicate who the receiver was. Okay? Clear every flag and every incomplete action before submitting. If you can do it during the game, great. If you do it all at the end of the game, that's fine. But you have to clean those up and fill in all that missing action. Pass deflected at the line of scrimmage, deflected back to the quarterback. No problem. We would just put in the receiver is the same as the passer. So if the passer is 12, we'll give a pass. We'll give probably a quarterback hurry because there can't be a pass breakup if it's received, and then we'll give the reception to the quarterback. Yeah, I didn't show an incomplete pass, but I should do that. So ball snapped pass, you're asking about targeted receivers. So with an incomplete pass, there is an option for no target. Okay, so you can choose no target. You still need to choose a yard line about where that ball was thrown. Maybe they're just getting rid of it about there, 5 yards downfield, and we go to the next play. Okay. On the final stat sheet, targets is listed first on the receiver stat line. Since the NCAA didn't have that in their list, we copied the NFL format, and the NFL format puts target first. So that's that was the reasoning for putting the target column first. If that's where we looked for inspiration on how to format that table, and so that's what we went with. We thought if the NFL does it, that's good enough for us. Okay. Well, Nick, I think I've gone through everything I have, and I will stay and answer questions as long as you'll have me. Like I said, I went through a lot of this fast, and I didn't touch all the details by any means. Please sign up for one of our full trainings. Those are effective. They're helpful. We record them. You can also, on the knowledge base, you can find the last one we've done, and you can watch that on your own time if that's better for you. I always think the live trainings are best because you can ask your questions on the spot. But do register for those. You register, and I send you a link the day before to the Zoom, and they're actually pretty fun.
Well, here's one question that just came in. Line of scrimmage at the 20, runner makes it to the 30, hold at the 25. Do we need to adjust at the end of the play, or will the software handle it?
Yep, software will handle it. So you're talking about a downfield hold situation. So we're 2nd and 20 at the 25. So let's imagine that. So we have a ball snap, a rush, 27 up the middle. Okay. So you're talking about a 10-yard gain. So we'll take him to the 35, 45. But there's a flag on the field because we have a hold at the 30. Okay. So I think that's mimicking the scenario you put in there. So we're going to input penalty, select penalty reason, holding on Rockford. And we will credit that to one of our big friendly linemen. Accepted. So now, where is it enforced from? It's not the previous spot. It's not the succeeding spot. It's another spot. Okay, it's from the 30. So we click other spot, and now the field says enforced from where. We click the 30-yard line. You're going to see 10-yard gain to the 35, but penalty from the 10. Johnson will get 5 yards rushing. Okay, we're gonna these play-by-play descriptions are all being reviewed and updated. So I think you're going to see a more in a new update soon. You see a more detailed update that'll say he gained 10, he's credited 5 yards rushing, but the penalty will put us back to the 30. So the next play is 2nd and 25 from the 20 because he gained 5, but he went back 5. See, and there we are.
All right, here's our last question of the day. How many people do you suggest for an ideal quote unquote stat crew to stat a football game, and how long should they train before going live since the actions will naturally move fast? It's a good plug for you guys to say how many training sessions you guys have.
Yeah. However many you've been using for stat crew, you can use here. So whatever you're comfortable with, it's designed at the minimum, it's designed for 2 people. I think 2 would be challenging unless, if you got, I shouldn't say that. 2 as you're learning would be challenging. Once you're good at it, I think 2 can do it. But you'll have to be sharp. I think 3 is probably a really reasonable number. And then if you'd like a 4th person just as an extra set of eyes and a 5th person to be a hand writer, you can do that. There's actually in the NCAA NSCM knowledge base, there's a scribe sheet developed by our friend Craig Hayamoto at University of Washington, a scribe sheet designed to work with NCAA Live Stats. So I would encourage you to do that, to use that if you'd like a scribe sheet. How long should you train? I'll give you a couple stories. A friend of mine who was using this summer at Aurora, Brian Kipley at Aurora University, he trained himself. He did both practice games, both training games from the website. And but he didn't train his student workers at all. So he typed and he explained to his student workers how to spot and the information he needs and the order he needs it. He did the first half of their first game, and then the second half he turned it over to his student workers who hadn't seen the program other than watching Brian do the first half, and he let them run with it, and they did great. Okay, now you probably want to have more training than that. But Brian trusts his student workers, and he knew he had a sharp group, so it worked well. To me, if they do a full training game, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. The other important thing, I think on the chat, we had put in the training games and also the situational videos. We have a lot of what we call quick hitter videos. Here's a whole bunch of samples of how to do certain things, certain penalties, certain plays, unusual things that come up. Watching those training plays really helps as well. I would say have your crew do a full training game. I would say have them do some kind of live action scrimmage or off video, off an old game film, where you're trying to do that
now. All right, quickly before we let you go there, sorry, David. Is there a way to get access to the software right now?
It's downloadable to everybody on this planet right now at the NSCM knowledge base, www.ncamanager.com/know-more, KNOW-MORE.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's there. It's been available for everybody since early this spring. There you go. I'll drop it in the chat.
And that's a great way to end it. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us for today's information session, and a big thank you to our presenter, Dave Petroff, for the discussion and insight. A reminder that you can find this webinar on demand later this afternoon on GoCited.com and on GoCited's YouTube channel. The link will be on GoCited.com. All the on-demand features are free of charge. Thank you for joining us today. Additional webinars and podcasts will be rolling out in the next few weeks prior to the June virtual convention, where David, I believe you'll be there with Genius. Stay tuned for next Tuesday's pre-recorded webinar. That's May the 18th. The advocacy group has a webinar entitled Survivor, Facing and Acing the year-end review coming out of the pandemic. The panelists will discuss how to organize all work and achievements to prepare for a self-evaluation or to present it to supervisors in a performance review. We encourage you to check out coseta.com for updated information on professional development opportunities and on what's on tap for the June convention. Thanks again for being with us. We'll talk to you soon.